Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 82. I'm Enigmas and today it's the last build episode for the Manta hover vessel. The next episode will be showing off the outcome of the last cosmetic pass that I will do after we're done here. Of course, carrying the rest of the hull over to the other side because we've only been doing one side up to this point just because I like to do things that way. And the painting and the texturing. So this episode, what we have to do is finish this front section of the intake vent on the side of the ship. And I've left this till last because we spent already quite a bit of time on the air intake vent, and I decided it might be a nice break to just focus on other things for a while and then come back and knock this out and get it done. I don't have anything particularly complicated in mind for this section of the build. It's one of those areas where it's purely cosmetic, so we can do pretty much whatever we want. We don't have to worry about how other things are going to interface with this particular part of the ship. If it turns out that we can get some utility out of it, great, but if not, it's not that big of a deal. Now I'm doing sort of that forward swept 22.5 degree angle thing that I've been doing quite a bit lately, just because it seems to fit with what I've got in mind for the overall sort of look of the ship once it's done. Every once in a while when the camera goes past, you can see the outside the door, just out of the door, is our other hover vessel where I did a lot of that forward swept 22.5 degree angle stuff as well. It's one of those things where I have to be very, very careful not to get stuck in a rut, because it's very easy to get stuck in a rut. And all of a sudden, for no reason, if we're not aware of it, it's like I'm in this rut and I don't like what's happening with my builds and I don't feel like doing anymore. And that's kind of an unfortunate thing. Sometimes it's happened and people just need a break to regenerate their enthusiasm for what they were doing, usually involving coming up with new ideas that they want to try. But in my case, I know I can kind of force that position without having to put myself in a position where things are stale and I don't want to play anymore, just by saying, okay, next time let's deliberately go out of our way to come up with some new ideas. Doesn't mean we can't use these constructs that we've come up with so far. It's just we want to make sure that we aren't forcing ourselves into a position where we're unhappy with what we're doing because we just haven't caught ourselves doing the same thing over and over again. You can see here we're kind of just filling in this elliptical profile, and I spent so much time and effort specifically trying to preserve this elliptical thing. I mentioned in a previous episode the concept of having like an elliptical tube and you smashed it into the side of the ship. That's what I wanted to preserve throughout all of the things that we did with the intake vents and all of the modifications that we made and the reworking that we did. So now I want to make sure that whatever I do doesn't undermine all of that prior effort. And it actually comes out not too badly, all things considered. I was pretty happy with the way that it works out. There's going to be some minor details we'll have to modify after what you see here is complete. But realistically speaking, for the complexity of the design and everything that goes into making it look like it was intentional, I was pretty happy with it. So that's basically the profile right there that we have, except for the very bottom section now, and we have to manage this transition. But the side profile is pretty much done. So now we can kind of take a look at all of the different things that are coming together down here in this area, which is a lot. And again, like I was mentioning previously, I've used some of the half blocks on the side of the ship right in this area. And that's kind of complicating things. If I want to make the various different shapes come together, the half blocks are really, really tricky to work with. So it's a learning experience. I've been using the half blocks for a couple of builds now, and there's a time and a place where you can do things with half blocks that you just couldn't do with anything else, and they're fantastic. And then there are other times where it's maybe better to consider other alternatives from the very beginning, rather than having to rework around them, because it's a little bit involved to do so. Once we get this done, then we can look at the interior portion of the vent, and it's probably no surprise to anyone that we're going to be doing sort of the wall partitions like we had in the front grille, just because it's another one of those shapes, another one of those designs that I don't want to get into the habit of using, just because I'm not trying to come up with anything new. But it has a place. It has a place in a cosmetic build, and aesthetically there are worse things that we could be doing to add visual interest to the things that we're building. So for now, we're going to roll with it, and I've got some other ideas as well that aren't going to come into play unless I can make them work in the cosmetic reworking section. But for now, this is basically it. We're just going to kind of jam these things in here so that everything fits the way it needs to, and then we'll get building the middle section, putting in those partitions and kind of building the walls in behind them, etc., etc. And just like the last video, I don't think you need me nattering in your face the whole time, so I'm just going to say thanks for sticking with the build up to this point, and if you have stuck with it up to this point, or if you're just kind of joining the series late, like I say, the next episode will be the reveal of the final iteration of the ship, and then we'll take it out and we'll gather some stuff from the points of interest on Masperon before we leave forever and find another planet that's a little bit brighter and a little bit quieter so we can set up and start building another ship. So if you want to be notified about the next and future episodes, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.